Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of Master Debatin', where we bring you the latest and greatest controversial topics and allow advocates to duke it out. I'm your host, Alex Hessig. Today we bring you representatives from Pawnee, Indiana and Scranton, Pennsylvania. That is right, folks. We are debating which show is better, Parks and Rec or The Office. And joining me to settle this debate are two experts of these respective shows, standing up for the fourth most obese city in the country. Straight out of Pawnee, we have Parks expert Katie Jones. Katie, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. And then in the other corner, putting on for his city, that's right, the Electric City, we have Brian Hultgren. Brian, thanks for coming all the way from Scranton, Pennsylvania to make your case for The Office.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for having me.
So basically, we're going to start off. Give me your opening statements on why your show is the superior show. Katie, go ahead.
Well, first of all, it's a brighter, happier, funnier show. All the characters in the show are equally as important, and it makes for some pretty funny moments. And not to mention that the actors in real life have all gone on to do tremendous things, including Chris Pratt, a giant movie star, Aziz Ansari, famous comedian, and Amy Poehler and Rob Lowe. All of these people are just fantastic assets to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Brian, she makes a good point. It's such a brighter and happier show for most of the time. Office can be dreary, so what's your counter?
Well, to that I say that The Office is it's kind of supposed to be dreary in a sense, because it's about showing your experience at work, the good and bad. And let's face it, a lot of people have jobs that aren't very good. But what makes The Office so great is also not just that, but the cast. From Steve Carell, Rainn Wilson, Jenna Fischer, John Krasinski, Mindy Kaling, all of them are fantastic. Arguably the greatest sitcom cast of all time. It's got 6 Primetime Emmys and was the creator of the mockumentary genre. I mean, every mockumentary genre, and even Parks and Recreation, all took inspiration from The Office.
You make a good point, both of you, that the casts are great. They have that mockumentary style. They're very similar in that regard. So in terms of a narrative sense, the characters, we have Jim and Pam, Ben and Leslie, two of the greatest love stories in television. Why is your love story better? Brian, we'll start with you.
Jim and Pam, it was impossible not to root for them to get together. For 3 seasons, we were screaming at them, just get together. We want to see you guys together. They were perfect. And when they finally got together, it was an incredible payoff. They were relatable. The chemistry between the two was fantastic. It was just perfect. I mean, Ben and Leslie was fine, but they didn't have to face the adversity that Jim and Pam had to do in The Office.
I don't know about that, because I sat there, like you said, waiting so long for Jim and Pam to get together. I did want them to get together, but I waited 100 years for this to happen. And at the end of the day, what does Jim do? Propose at a gas station? You didn't have any other better ideas than that?
Well, he was going to propose at Toby's farewell party, but
it still didn't work out. And that's why Ben and Leslie are better. They have a wedding, they have kids. We get to see their whole story develop into a beautiful relationship. And at the end of the day, they're a power couple because one of them becomes the president.
Now, you guys make good points, obviously. And in these shows, the two most important characters might be the bosses, because they run the show. We have Michael Scott, Dunder Mifflin. We have Ron Swanson, head of the Parks and Rec department. So which boss is more incompetent, but in a good way?
Yeah, I think Ron Swanson, he's a realistic guy. He doesn't like his job. He doesn't really care about it. But it's funny when he's trying to, get these things done and, get the government out of turmoil. I think overall Michael Scott comes across more as this incompetent guy that just really wants to try his best. But at the end of the day, he just can't do anything right. And it makes his humor almost cringy for me.
She makes a point, though. The humor is cringy. And with Michael Scott and Ron Swanson, you know what you're getting, so...
Well, okay, but here's the thing. Ron Swanson, he knows he's good at his job, but he fails at it almost all the time. He's incompetent. That's a terrible boss. With Michael Scott, like you mentioned, he's trying, and at the very least, he's at least putting some effort to caring about his friends and his employees, minus Toby, of course, but he cares about his employees and is actually making efforts to help them, and he actually is, it can be pretty cringy, admittedly, but when it hits, they hit bullseyes, and he carries a lot of the show's humor going throughout the series.
Well, you also have to remember that people at Michael's office don't care about him. They don't respect him. They don't care about what he does. And in Ron Swanson's instance, his employees get respect from Ron.
I wouldn't say that they don't respect or like him. They've shown clearly throughout the series that they all do care and respect him.
But at most times, you have to say that Michael Scott gets on the nerves of his employees.
Okay, I can attest to that.
Pam leaves to go work somewhere else.
No, Pam left to go work with Michael when he founded the Michael Scott Paper Company.
Okay. Both making great points. These bosses clearly different in many regards. I want to finish with this real quick. Both shows have been in talks to get rebooted with NBC. And clearly the storyline's played out, but there's room for more storytelling. So why should your shows get that reboot, Brian?
Well, with The Office had a bigger ensemble cast, and it's like more of a easier idea. With Parks and Rec, it's focused on like the main characters and the main cast. With The Office, we've seen that pieces are interchangeable. Someone leaves, they can bring them in, and I think there's more possibilities with characters like Jim, Pam, and Dwight.
That's a good point. Final pitch?
And yeah, I just think that Parks and Rec actually has a chance to move forward. The Office doesn't have Michael Scott. Steve Carell isn't going to be part of a reboot. Then what's the point?
That's true. Steve Carell has said he will not be coming back for an Office reboot. But I'd like to thank you, Katie and Brian, for taking the time to come on Master Debating today. We have to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because on the other side, we'll have a fascinating debate about whether the Bills or the Browns are the worst NFL franchise. Stay with us.